Hi, it's ChickenboneJohn here, back in the workshop, and following on from my chat about things like CNC, laser cutting and the rest of it, I thought I'd just show you one of the things we do. I make a lot of this sort of stuff. It's a little jig for cutting boxes. We use these in kits and some of our own guitars. It's a plain box. They're all made the same size. They're made by a local company, just about 15 minutes away. And if we're using a standard 35mm wide neck, we can drop this into this little jig, cut it with the saw, job done. Yeah, you could CNC it and all the rest of it, but the setup time is crazy. So all we do, so just going a bit closer and you can see what I do with it. Okay, so here we have the jig. It's just made up of X 2x1 and a bit of beech. You can fit, you know, you could build these or make it adjustable, but it's just got a couple of lugs on here, engages on the edge of the bench. It just, you see, it drops in. We bring it back there. So these little blocks just hold the lid open, and I'm just going to use a pull saw. I think that's wide enough to take a regular tenon saw as well. So all I'll do, I'm going down to the top of the box in this case. And these are pinned together, so that's, I think, probably in between the pins. There we go. That's it. That's all there is to it. I flip the thing over, hold it in place, and the same thing. What could be quicker than that? To do this bit, I mean, I can drop it in here, but what I will often do is close the box and just make a cut to make sure the two halves are registered properly. But we can do it on here. Yep, that looks okay. And what I do here, can you see I've got the block already glued in. Then all I need to do is I can just saw and file that out. Probably take it out with a Shinto rasp, and we can do the other side. That's it. In terms of repeatability, I've got another one ready to go. You know, let's do it. No faffing about, no setup time. And there you go. That's it. That's all there is to it. You know, repeatability. You couldn't do that my machine any quicker than that. That's how easy it is to do. Very simple jig, which costs virtually nothing. You know, a few offcuts of beech, little bit of plywood, some timber. We use loads of this for making cases and doing boxes, because here's a case being made. Simple jig. That's for using a standard box on. I could probably make one that we could center up and use any box, but this is specifically geared to these standard boxes. Appropriate technology, I think, as I've talked about before, rather than using something overly complicated or powered or whatever. There you go. I just need to finish doing the cuts on that, take it, I'll put some more saw cuts take it out with a shinto, and it's done. It's very quick, very simple. There's no need for anything more complicated. I didn't have to train for this. It probably took me at best part 40 minutes to make that jig. And that's because, you know, I wanted to do it accurately. I had to sort of clamp it up, glue it up, make sure it was absolutely bang on. These can be taken out, and I could actually take that off and put a wider one in, or I suppose I could probably make one up with a different one on here to take a 4-string neck, should I desire. But yeah, simple jigs. As I say, we use a lot of them. Just little bits of wood here. This looks like absolutely nothing at all, but when we use the bandsaw, we just put the wood into that, and it measures that. We can put a piece of wood on that, and it'll cut it exactly the size you want it. So for that's for doing the short side and the long side of boxes. That's a little jig for dropping a router in to do these deco style slots with. There's a couple of jigs, mini humbucker, precision pickup for cutting pickup holes. We've now gone to a more precise system using the plexiglass sheet. Another couple of things here for doing neck installations. Couple of blanks here for doing, that's a template for doing workshop boxes. Another one for doing stomper templates. They're just made out of plywood and scrap. Yeah, that's our CNC. We don't use it. We do, as I said, we'll use power tools and we use routers, but you couldn't get much more simple than, I'm not even using a vice or clamp or anything. That just rests on the edge of my bench. Decent pull saw. That's the way we've gone. I know one or two people said, after I did the video on CNC, oh, it's much quicker for shaping necks. That's what you think. I think that's somebody, with respect, who's not actually used CNC to do the job. I think if you've done it and somebody says, we're set up to do CNC for routing boxes or carving necks or whatever, that's fine. I'd listen to those people and I think, well, do you want to carve my boxes for me rather than me do it? It's easy to think that CNC machining will do the job quicker and better. It really isn't necessarily the case. I think certainly for doing box tops and so forth, it's very moot point because we can router it out, and as you can see, cut that in seconds. If we wanted to go bigger and say carve necks, we simply couldn't get the machinery in here. We'd need something with a bed of at least 1 meter length so it could machine it. So the whole thing is going to end up being probably 1.5 meters by the time you've got your rails and all the rest of the stuff for the machinery. That it would fill half of our workshop. I just noticed on eBay there was a few people selling proper pucker woodworking machines, but these were about $6,000, and they're sort of saying, I don't use it. And this is from a commercial woodworking company. You look at some of the other stuff, the type of stuff that if we were doing necks, you'd want things like multi-tool machines, the things that would have a station with various bits to do the various carvings on the neck and the drillings. This is ridiculously expensive. You're starting to talk tens of thousands of pounds, and the investment needed in learning the software, I don't think that's going to come easy either. So we'd need to dedicate months getting the thing up and running. We can't afford that downtime. We'd have to sort of farm it out to a consultant, dedicated staff to do it. It's crazy. We're a cottage industry. As I say, it's all about, I think, appropriate technology. The one thing I think we could perhaps use a small CNC machine is for possibly doing small parts, things like control plates, pick up surrounds, which just going to cut in 2D. That might work, but even then, we'd probably want it to do 100 or 200 in a batch. And so that means either you're constantly loading in small pieces of timber for it to cut out half a dozen or a dozen pieces, or you end up with a big machine that's going to do it all in one bang, and then there's too much bloody room. Also thinking about that with the repeatability, you have to set up your machine so it'll duplicate cut all the time. The software that, you know, the time you need to invest on getting the software, programming it and that to do that, and load the stuff in, set it going, come back, load another piece in. It's not, that time doesn't come free. Also, I said the leading time of working out this stuff doesn't come free. 40 minutes to make that doesn't cost me much, even when I'm if I'm charging myself, my hourly rate doesn't cost much. And then the actual thing, when we do that in seconds, if I wanted to bring in, say, 100 boxes, I'd have them done in an hour and time for a tea break. There you go. Anyway, think about it. If you want to improve your throughput, accuracy, consistency, little things like a jig for, you know, simple tasks like cutting that neck pocket in your box. Okay, bye for now. Thanks for watching.